In this video, I'm going to show you how I went from looking like this to getting into single-digit body fat using walking as my only form of cardio and how you can do it too. I'm going to give you the benefits of walking, and then I'm going to give you 3 simple steps you can utilize to start walking yourself shredded. Okay, real quick, obviously you can't just walk and eat whatever you want and get in great shape. You need to know how much you should be eating, but I already have a video on that, so I'll link that in the description below to get in the best shape of your life. So why is walking so dang beneficial? The lower your intensity of your activity is, the more your body preferentially uses fat for fuel, whereas with higher intensity activities, it's going to preferentially use carbohydrates for fuel. Now, I'm not saying that's bad and that won't help lose body fat, but the problem with higher intensity stuff is it wears you down. It's really hard to recover from, and if you get completely wiped out, you're going to have a hard time doing what's necessary to get the results you want. Plus, there's many ways to walk to get your steps in. You could just go for a walk outside. If the weather sucks, you can go to your gym and use a treadmill. You can walk in the mall. You can get a treadmill for your house so it's convenient and you don't even have to leave. And let's not get it twisted, taking more steps is not just about getting shredded. Research has shown all-cause mortality drops by about 10 to 12% for every extra 1,000 steps you take per day. All right, let's go over the steps you need to take to get that shredded look utilizing walking as your form of cardio. And the first thing you want to do is get a baseline for your current step count. So if you don't know what it is yet, then what you do for the next week is just do things the way you've normally done them, but now track your steps so you can see how many you take on average. And then from there, to start the process, you're going to increase your daily step count 3,000 to 5,000 steps per day. And of course, this is going to vary, but for many, that's around maybe a half-hour walk every day. This way, once your body adapts to this and the progress slows down, you can make further increases, taking maybe 2,000 or 3,000 steps per day more on top of that to keep the process working. But it's not just about the amount of steps you take. That brings us to step 2, and that is you can increase the intensity of your walking to help create more calorie burn. So you can start with just picking up the pace. Instead of just going for like a leisurely walk, now you're going to do more of a brisk walk for the same amount of time. You're going to burn more calories. If you happen to live in an area that has a lot of hills, you can utilize those to increase the challenge of that. I don't have that here. I live in Florida, so it's just a flat walk everywhere. But even if you live in an area like Florida, you can utilize a treadmill that you can set on an incline and increase the challenge that way, but don't touch that machine. Keep your hands off and start with around maybe a 3 to 5 incline, and you can start bringing that up 1 or 2 degrees and increase that challenge. But to make sure you're increasing the intensity and getting more out of it, what I would recommend if you're on a treadmill is to monitor the calories burned on it. Now, I don't mean look at the calories and assume that's correct. There's been research that showed they're highly inaccurate, up to even 85% off. So you don't want to worry about how many calories you're actually burning. It's just going to give you some feedback about how intense your exercise is. So if you're on there and it usually says that you burn 300 calories, well, then you want to make sure you're matching that as much as possible. And then as you start to adapt, maybe you're trying to hit 350 or 400 calories by increasing pace and or incline. Now, all that brings us to step 3, and that's how to get your step count up, because it's not just necessarily going for long walks every single day. There's many ways you can do this. Now, one thing I do recommend is schedule that time into your week. Block that time off just like any important business meeting or anything that has to be done. Unscheduled time just kind of goes away. Don't even know what happens to it. So you need to commit to a half-hour walk, hour walk, whatever you're going to do, and make sure you don't deviate from that schedule. If you have a dog, use that as motivation to go for walks anyways. I mean, come on, if you have a dog, please walk your dog. The dogs are wonderful. They're such a great part of our families, and they need exercise. It's like Cesar Millan says, it's good for the human, it's good for the dog. So take your dog on frequent walks. Another strategy you can take that can be helpful is set a timer every hour or so and just get up and go for like a 2 or 3 minute walk. Just walk around your office if you work in an office job, or around the house or whatever else. And especially if you're someone who works in front of a computer all day, you do a lot of sitting, this can help actually keep you less stiff and sore. And I actually just tested it. I went for a 2-minute walk. I got a little over 200 steps in that time. So if you do 200 to 300 steps 10 times a day, well, there you go. There's another 2,000 to 3,000 steps just like that. So it doesn't all have to be done in one full swoop. Here's a fun one for you. Are you someone who's on the phone a lot, especially if it's not a corded phone, hopefully? While you're talking to somebody, just keep moving. Pace back and forth and just move around. Especially if you end up on like a half-hour call, boom, you're just taking care of a bunch of walking while being productive. And then just alter your life a bit so you force yourself to take some more steps. If you've been getting groceries delivered, go to the grocery store and actually do the shopping itself. Park at the end of the parking lot so you have to walk further to get inside. Instead of taking elevators, take the stairs. This day and age, it's so easy to be sedentary, so find ways to force yourself to be more active. Now, the drawback here, I'm sure you've been saying this the whole time, I don't have time for that, right? You're just busy, I get it. However, if you want to get shredded, you're gonna have to make some sacrifices, and this is one of those sacrifices, especially if you want to be able to enjoy more food. But most of the time, it's really the thought of doing something that's the hard part. Once you get into it, get into the routine, you make some adjustments, and it's not nearly as hard as you thought. You just have to shift some priorities around. Which, speaking of food, I mentioned in the beginning, you need to know how to control your calories, how to make adjustments and all that. So I have videos on that. Check out one of them up top next that will help guide you through that process. Otherwise, I think you'll like this bottom video instead, and I'll see you in one of those other videos.